You're listening to Building the Broncos with Nick Kendall and Carl Dumler, Broncos country's leading draft and scouting analysts. Get on over to milehighhuddle.com to sound off on all things Broncos.
Winning spinning wheel. We got to get one more going here. Kind of autopilot now on the startup stuff that I do it on Tuesdays and Thursday mornings. But hello, and welcome into a Tuesday evening episode, Mile High Huddle and Building the Broncos, brought to you by Carl Dumler and myself. Welcome in, Carl. How you doing? Happy Tuesday to you. Good to see you.
I'm good, man. I got a whole day with my daughter. Got to go swimming, library. Got to do a little Pokemon hunting as well.
Ooh,
yeah.
Did you catch anything fun?
I'm trying to remember. What did we get? Oh, man. There was a couple of them that were close, like they're around that edge of legendary.
Okay. Any shinies? Is that a thing?
Yeah, yes, it is. And got a couple of those as well. So it was a good day. Good day with the kid.
Oh my God, 116 in Arizona. I am just, how hot is it? I know it's like 102 in Colorado today. How is it in Kansas?
I think we reached 99 today, and tomorrow's supposed to be 105.
Oh, I see that like the electric grid in Texas is collapsing as well. Like, oh my God, it's a little. I'm in short sleeves, but it's been pretty chilly here up in the Pacific Northwest. We've been getting hit with some pretty hard rain. But you know, Carl and I, we're big. Always have to talk about the weather. We're so freaking cliche. But let's get into it, guys. Building the Broncos. Thank you for joining us every Tuesday night at 5:00 Mountain Time, 5:00 p.m. for you guys out there. I know that some of you also are joining us from across the pond, so I want to get that out there for you guys. You can find Carl and myself on Twitter. Carl at Carl Dumler MHH, and myself at Nick Kendall MHH. And John, since you're here, I don't know if you can make it so Carl and I have the same format here with our names. If you can't, that's totally fine, but it does bother me. My CDO a little bit. That's OCD, but in the right order, alphabetical. And also make sure you guys follow John on Twitter as well. Buana Beast, you know him, you love him, at John K MHH. While you guys are over on Twitter, also make sure you follow at Mile High Huddle and at BTB Football Pod. Obviously, YouTube is probably the main method of how a lot of you watch the show, but if you are joining us on YouTube today, please subscribe, like, and share, and that can do us a heck of a lot of good. Obviously, we appreciate the super chats, but not everybody's in a position where they can be donating or being generous, but if you can go out there, it's totally free. Subscribe, like, and share. That does us a lot of good. Doesn't cost you a thing, but helps us a heck of a lot. Also, if you're joining us on Facebook today, we appreciate you Facebook listeners. First off, make sure you go to facebook.com/Mile High Huddle to become a supporter. And also, even more specifically, facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. And if you guys are joining us on Facebook today, make sure you click those thumbs up. Right now, we're at 4. That's Case Keenum number. We got to do better than that. We got to get the 5 for Teddy, or maybe somebody unlike it for Drew Lock for 3, since I guess that's the theme of the show today. I know, please don't unlike it. I don't even know if that's possible. Let's get it going, and I want to say hello to a bunch of people in the chat while we're going, but let's get to these supers here real quick. Not to knock them out. I don't want to say that because we love y'all. Y'all are the best. But John, can you pull up some supers? I guess we got to get with the biggest, most generous one here out of the gate. Oh, okay. I'm going to go bit of Pobbies real quick because, my goodness, always so generous. I don't even know another word to say. Gracious also. And coming in here with the $49.99 super over on YouTube. Lighten up purple. Beautiful purple here. And just stopping by to show some love at work. I will catch you guys later. Well, we really appreciate that, Pobby. Summit is in the kennel next to me right now. He's a real good boy. I give my wife a little bit of a break. When she's working from home, I'm going into the office. So I was like, oh, Summit's a good boy. He'll stay in the kennel. So he's right over here. He says hello as well. And thank you very much for the super. And we had one from a good friend. I need to meet up for a cold one with him. Oh, no. I'm actually drinking out of a and it's a see-through glass. I guess I'm going to have to brown bag it. I forgot that wasn't allowed. But Mr. Boggins coming in here, $4.99 super. Carl, go ahead.
Yeah. Mr. Boggins coming in here saying it's sad how Lock hater and Lock lover camps pick and choose day of success or day of failure to push such a linear narrative that's convenient to them. So I loved Zach Sager, another guy that does some shows that we really enjoy. Got to have a show with him the other day, and it was really nice to get on his. But he kind of put it the other day of saying, I wish those who are Lock haters could do well when he does well to say, hey, Lock did well. or to say what he does well at. And those who are Lock lovers, when Lock messes up, say, hey, Lock messed up. Like that shouldn't be that hard for us. Nobody's perfect. And if you're sitting there saying Lock is the perfect quarterback, then no, I'm sorry, you're not right. If you're saying that Lock is the worst quarterback of all time and will never ever make it in this league, there's no chance. I'm sorry, you're off on that too. Or at least you're off in the narrative that could happen. And there's got to be some common ground there between those 2 points. And so we've had those days where Teddy Bridgewater has done better, and there's been now today Drew Lock went out there and did better. And I know on Twitter we had somebody who said, oh, man, of course, the day that Lock does great, we got the 2 Lock haters that are coming on the show.
It was in tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah, I hope so. Twitter, it's hard. They really do need to get a sarcastic font.
It's the S, right? That's how they do it on Reddit. Like if it's a / with an S, meaning sarcasm.
Okay.
But yeah, smash the like button. We got Stone Cold Tim coming here. What up, guys? Showing love on Twitch. And obviously, we don't give enough love and shout out to Twitch, but thank you, Stone Cold Tim, for joining us out on Twitch today. Albert Knoppers is in the house. We're dealing with illness that should not be named. Well, Albert, thinking about you and your family. That's rough. We got Michael coming in here. Shout out to Albert and your family. Hope they do better, buddy. Michael coming in here too. We got Jesse saying shout out at MHH or to either way. And appreciate you. And I know, so we have I just want to get back to here to Mr. Boggins real quick. You know, it's this time of year, you pretty much not have to, but a lot of times if we're getting information, you kind of have to make mountains out of molehills, right? Like it's the 24-hour news cycle, and that's just kind of how it is. And you talk about the interceptions, well, you can't not acknowledge them, but you also can't make too much of them. And like today as well, it's the same exact thing. Oh, boring, saying that how much does it mean? Well, it means something, but it's like 1 piece, 2 pieces out of like 1,000-piece puzzle. Eventually you start putting them together, you get the full picture. But like to make way too much out of it in this one instance, you can't get too high or too low. I mean, it's also what's the zero sum, right? Like if one player is doing well, that means a Bronco on the other side got beat. So you have to look at it full picture and have a little bit of nuance there. And if you're looking for somebody to, just a full steam ahead hype train, probably not going to be Carl and I. We try to keep it more neutral here if we can. We'll tell you as we see it too, and we'll have fun. But today was a win for Locke. And I said to Scott this morning, you're old enough, or you're not too old, where you had played Nintendo 64, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I tried to give it with Scott this morning, where he's like, that's before my time. In Mario Kart, where you try to time the lights, when you go and if you mistime it, you kind of skid there for a second. Mm-hmm. That's kind of how it was early on, where Teddy Bridgewater didn't get like a crazy boost, but he got out of the gates, the blocks normally. And Locke was kind of sliding there for a second. But that's how far we have been in the race, right? Like there's still like right there. We have so much farther to go to make information to who wins the race. And today, Locke caught up to him. He got the blue shell, right? Like, go ahead.
And we'll just keep saying the best thing for the Denver Broncos this season is for Drew Lock to run away with this race and look good. That's the best thing possible for the Denver Broncos. That's what we want. We really do. We want Lock to win this competition. He's got the higher upside. He's been in the system here for this last year. He's got a little more rapport with some of these players. There's more there. The arm talent alone, where he can fit balls where Teddy Bridgewater can't. There's just so many things that point to, hey, Locke is that option that you really want to go see win this competition. So yeah, I'm cheering for the guy, and he's fun. When he's having fun out there, it's fun to watch. When he's dancing around, I mean, it is. It's kind of fun to see that. We haven't seen that with the Denver Broncos for a while. They've kind of been one of the most boring teams in football. When you have zero offense, it's very boring to watch. Yeah. At least the Tim Tebow days, like for 3 quarters, you could go get yourself a snack, go to the bathroom, just come back for the 4th quarter.
Yeah.
And 4th quarter would be fireworks. We haven't had that here in Denver. A few games here and there. But this is good news for the Broncos to hear that Drew is doing well, that he had a better day. Now he's just got to show it consistently. That's always been his biggest issue. He's had big games. He's had, the Houston game, his rookie year, the Carolina game this last year. He's had those big games that you sit there and say, this guy's got something. And so him going out and having a great practice, it doesn't surprise me one bit. He can put together some great practices. I just want to hear the big thing for me. What does he do tomorrow? What does he do on day 3 of minicamp? How does he start out training camp, when they kick back in? Can he consistently put days together where he is looking like the better quarterback? He doesn't have to win every single day, but if he can start winning like 3 or 4 days in a row, man, then you might start thinking that you got something here.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out here. Speaking of consistency, Gary Leeds Palmer always coming in with stars for us over on Facebook. And he's saying we're preaching to the choir here. That's exactly how he feels. So I guess people can come here for the different kind of confirmation bias where it's just like, more even keel. And Dylan's saying he's loving the Mario Kart analysis here. It just goes to show how much farther we have to go, right, in this quarterback process. I saw it was Vic Lombardi saying the Broncos just need to pick a guy because how often does it actually work out where the quarterback battle is good for the team? But I want to say that that's kind of I think there's some faulty logic there in general, because if you're having a quarterback battle to begin with, a lot of times that probably is more to do with the situation you have in general, the options you have, right? So I think
it's not that you have 2 great quarterbacks battling. It's because you got 2 bad quarterbacks that you're having to pick which one's not as bad.
Yes, like you don't know. Yeah. And because you don't know, that might speak to it a little bit. So I get what he's saying. I just think that the process there is not fully flushed out. And I did enjoy Gary coming back in here today, here saying, did you guys hear Locke give a dig to Mike Kliss? I think he was just busting Kliss's balls a little bit.
Yep.
Carl was talking about it earlier, just a second ago, where he's like, Locke dancing around on the sidelines, rapping, whatever. That's all fine and dandy if you're winning, if you're playing well. And Drew Lock seems like a very charismatic guy. Does a really good job with the media overall. He's been a little bit more prickly this offseason because, last year he went through the ringer and he's had a whole offseason of being told he ain't bleep, right? Like, I'm sure he hears that. And that would make anybody upset. But he does have charisma. I'm pulling for him because if the Broncos are good this year, Drew Lock is good this year, we're going to have a lot of fun with these press conferences and the back and forth. But if he's struggling, if he's making jokes and stuff, they're going to fall flat. Because you have to earn, in my opinion, maybe I'm the old man at the lawn. I'm not 30 yet, but maybe I'm the old man, get off my lawn. I was yelling at the clouds. Like, you have to earn the dancing, the fun, the rapping or whatnot. Because if you're not playing well, it just rubs me the wrong way.
I think there's only one quarterback that can be losing and the press conferences can still be a lot of fun. And that's Ryan Fitzpatrick. Just because, the man's got the giant beard. He's got that kind of personality. But you also don't see him after a loss coming out in one of his crazy outfits or anything like that. It's always after a win. So, you got to know when to do it, obviously. Mm-hmm. And young guys can sometimes struggle with that. It's always weird when a team's down by like 3 or 4 touchdowns and then they go score a touchdown and then they like have this giant celebration like they've done something huge. And it's like, dude, you're down 21 still. No one's happy. Yeah, exactly. And so sometimes the young guys just have to learn some of those things of when to do those things and when not to. And like I said, you want to see it when they're winning. You want to see that kind of personality that's just fun and everybody kind of gravitates towards it because it makes the Broncos become that much more of a national team. It makes it easier for people like us that don't live in Denver to get those games on TV. That's always nice. I've hated the last couple of years where I've gotten, cable and boom, Broncos are never on. It
Carl,
sucks.
Let me introduce you to the internet and the world of streams. No, don't. Okay. Sliding Glide Bros coming in here with the $5 super over on YouTube saying, I think one possible breakout player we don't talk enough about is Dalton Reisner. Also, his Max stuff, he's still in Denver. Dalton Reisner, excuse me. A breakout player? I guess that's possible. I feel like Dalton Reisner came into the league where he didn't have like crazy upside, but he was pretty polished. Now, obviously, you want to see him get better still in some areas, and I thought he had somewhat of a sophomore slump last year. Is that partially because of Lloyd Cushenberry's struggle? Very likely. Did the scheme change hurt him as well? Less wide zone, more gap, man power centric blocking scheme? Perhaps. But I think I would say more of a bounce back candidate than a breakout candidate, personally.
Yeah, I was going to say his rookie year, those first about 10 games.
Until the ankle injury.
Yeah, he looked very solid out there and was looking like a guy that's really heading towards being a consistent.
Bumping his head on Pro Bowl.
Yeah, right there. Right at that edge. I didn't quite see that he would – I don't know. He'd be right at the edge. Offensive lineman is kind of weird with the Pro Bowl of how they get voted in. It becomes a little bit –
you got to earn cred.
Right. But I think he can get back to that kind of level where he's very consistent out there and doing his job to the point that you're just going, yeah, this guy, he's going to be a solid starter, second year kind of contract that he's not going to go break the bank for you, but a guy that you really like to keep around because he is a good community guy. I mean, obviously grew up in the Denver area and knows the team, loves the community, does a lot, good personality, all those kind of things. You really like the guy and you hope that he works out. I mean, we've had him on our show. And it was a good show. I mean, I kind of loved. He didn't really want to talk much football. He just wanted to talk about his community opportunities to go serve and stuff like that. So, like I said, just a really cool guy. Mm-hmm. And I've got to interact with him a couple times since then. And
it's hard to you have to separate like the football analysis from the person because like it's hard to cheer against at all or have anything negative to say about Dalton Reisner the person. Could have played better last year. Yeah. There's reasons for that, but let's. I think this is a good call out there. And a slide and guide, bros. Thank you very much for the $5 super. We appreciate you. Also, is Max Duffy still in Denver? Yes, he is. He's still competing for a spot. It's fun that we got to talk about punting battles. How much do I care about it? I'm not saying I don't care about it, but when there's a quarterback battle going on as well, right tackle battle, how the defense is coming together, et cetera, maybe a little bit of small potatoes, but Broncos might be able to say, what is it, like $2 million if they move on from Sam Martin. So that could add up. That could matter.
Who was the last punter that you can remember? Like that was, I guess 2015. The Broncos had a good punter. One of the what brothers? Colquitt brothers. He had a really consistent year that year, but he was kind of always up and down a little bit. It seems like a lot of Bronco punters end up being very up and down. I don't know if that's just because you're always punting in altitude. And so then when you go other places, you're not used to the ball flying quite like it does in Denver. You think like Denver punters would be the best, but I don't think that's really been the case.
I just remember they got rid of Brett Kern, who, thank you, Josh McDaniels was another one. And he went on to be like a Pro Bowler for many years. I think he's still with the Titans. Yeah. So that was that one sucked. But we got Andrew Baker coming here. Doesn't suck. Andrew over on Facebook saying Nick putting in that work morning and night. Yeah, love talking football, love hanging out with you guys. So if I could do this every day, that would be great. So appreciate the shout out, Andrew. But I wouldn't call it work. I'm just out here having a good time and talking football. Doesn't feel like too much work. And we got also Pillar coming in here saying, my guys, Nick and Carl, always love hearing from you too. Thank you very much, Pillar. It's good to see. And also Jeremy at work. And I'm a little bit upset because my Germans got beat today. Unfortunately, the French beat them. But what can you do? We got Albert coming in here saying, how is the competition going between the Gut and Cushenberry? I have not heard too much from that. I think we're probably not really going to get a great understanding of that battle until preseason. Maybe you'll get some sprinkles of information when the Broncos go up against the Vikings, who I think just signed Sheldon Richardson today as well. So that'll be an interesting one. But I would be shocked if Cushenberry didn't win it, just given Division III football, the Gut. Gosh, Quinn Miners. I also loved everybody like, who should have been the Madden cover athlete? All pictures of Quinn Miners. That killed me with his gut hanging out. But he's transitioning not only from Division III to the NFL, but he's also transitioning from left guard to center. And there is a lot of responsibilities put on your plate. So even if he was like, we saw how much Cushenberry struggled last year after playing all those snaps to the SEC at the center position, people raving about his intelligence. Not that Miners can't get there, but I think it would be pretty shocking. I think it's one of those things where if Cushenberry is still struggling the last third of the season, the last quarter of the season, maybe then you see the transition or, knock on wood, injury. But I would be shocked if Miners was like displaced him this year just based on play.
Yeah, I think I would. If I'm the Broncos, I would be having more of a competition of, okay, Cushenberry, yes, you're going to go against the Gut, but also you're going to be going against Graham Glasgow because, I mean, he played center for Detroit, did well at that position, veteran presence, a guy that can command that team, knows all the positions on the interior. That's the guy I would rather have if Lloyd Cushenberry is not working out because of how important the center position is. I think we saw this offseason. Teams paid centers big time money. Like, you could make an argument, and I read something the other day that they said teams are starting to lean more towards, instead of left tackle being the most important position on the offensive line, that center is, just because of so much of the cerebral part of the game relies on that center doing their job right. So much is pre-snap in the NFL anymore because it's so fast. You have to know what you're doing. And I saw somebody earlier make that comment about Drew Lock, that maybe him having a better day, and we read that it was a lot of him going to his first read. Well, maybe it is that he's doing a lot more pre-snap kind of things and just feeling more comfortable in the system, more comfortable in understanding the defense. I mean, that's what Peyton Manning was great at. And if that's the case, I mean, that's huge. Yeah. Because that was the biggest struggle for Locke last year, was if he couldn't find his first read, man, it turned into a really disaster of a play. And so if he can read the defense beforehand and be making quick decisions with that arm that he has, man, that's great for the Broncos.
You also do have to wonder how much of it is possibly Shermer adjusting as well, because a lot of the data suggests that Drew Lock does struggle going beyond his first read. And there are some schemes that are more intellectually demanding of the quarterback position, where they have to, 3-4 reads based on the pre-snap, what they read in the coverage, where guys are at, box count, et cetera, et cetera. And some offenses also are super simplified from the passing scheme. Kyle Shanahan, for example, a lot of the throws go to the first read. Yep. So I'm curious if you are seeing a little bit of a change with Shermer also to better meld around Drew Lock. It's definitely something I know a lot of people made valid. I want to emphasize valid, all caps on valid excuses for Lock's struggles last year. Now, how much, one way or another, but there are also excuses for Shermer as well, right? And the offense kind of changing as the year went along to best match the personnel he had, right? He was figuring it out as well in a weird offseason. So, right. It can only be seen as a good thing, right? I know that some people paint us as Drew Lock haters, maybe not so you as much as me, because I'm just like, here's the data, here's it as, and I'm glad that I've seen a lot of people get to the point where like, yeah, Drew Lock was bad last year. I'm like, thank you. That's what I've been asking for the whole time. It's like, there are reasons for it. That doesn't mean he's going to be bad, but he was. Like, now what? What does that mean? So he was good today. He was better in the 11 on 11s than 7 on 7s from people I talked to in the team, which is fine. But it's only a good thing, right? Yep. And I'm happy about the floor of this room and everything. So we got speaking about making me happy, let's get to some more of the comments here. We got Travis in the house. What up, fellas? Denver Broncos for life. Thank you, Travis.
I think he gave us some stars on Facebook. Ooh, so thank you, Travis. Wanted to give you a little shout out for that.
Thank you.
I really appreciate that. And we've gotten to Aqib Talib, 21 on the lights up there. 22. Oh, we've gotten to Kareem Jackson. Nice. Okay. We're getting there.
Kareem the Dream.
If we can get to Von Miller today, I'd feel really happy.
Yeah, and Jeremy says, Nick is a Drew Lock realist, but then I have some other people saying, Shermer's trash. Look at Shermer's record and ask yourself why. Look at Shermer's quarterbacks and ask yourself why as well for him. That's so I don't think he's great, but I also don't think he is. I think he gets more blame than probably deserved, but we'll see this year.
I would put him more middle of the pack.
Yeah, average.
Yeah, there's some other coordinators out there that I like their system. I like the way they call the plays. I like how they can really kind of lift up the talent. I mean, Kyle Shanahan, there's some people that will poop on his system a little bit, but man, he can make bad quarterbacks look at least average quarterbacks look good quarterbacks look great at different times. If you fall into a system, now it can break down if the other team really does well of knowing what Kyle Shanahan wants to call and taking some of those things away. Because like I said, it is a first read system. Kyle Shanahan is going to make a wide receiver open. And it's your job as quarterback to hit that wide receiver in stride and let them go make a play. So it's great that way until they take that away. So that's where you can see some of the things like in the Super Bowl, Atlanta versus the Patriots. They started in that second half taking some of those things away. And Atlanta got it away from their game plan a little bit too, just trying to run out the clock. But those kind of systems, yeah, Shermer's a little bit different. He does scheme some things open, but he does rely on a quarterback being pretty cerebral too.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got Hunter coming in here who I don't know how much I'm supposed to share personal info, but it sounds like Hunter will be coming out here to the Pacific Northwest, not too far from me in a couple years for a bit. So have to hit me up. I mean, Hunter, man, I don't know how hardcore you are of a hiker, but I did a solo hike on Saturday morning, waking up at 4 a.m. and hiked 14 miles, 4,300 feet of elevation gain. Giddy up, baby. Let's go. But saying, just showing some love. Keep up the great work, gentlemen. And thank you very much, Hunter. Friend of the show, friend of mine as well. Just Facebook friended him. So thank you very much, Hunter. We appreciate you. And hope you'll enjoy the Pacific Northwest when you come make your way out here. Cody Potter coming in, $5 super over on YouTube. Thank you very much, Cody. Speaking of Duffy, just wanted to say he is an awesome dude. Oh, that's great to hear. You love to hear when these guys are awesome people, actually. My coworker, a former Kentucky grad, spent time with him in camp last year and said he's a cool guy. Well, thank you very much for that personal information, Cody. That's a good thing to hear. I know Max Duffy's a little bit older, as the international punters tend to be. But is he an Aussie too?
Yeah.
He's an Aussie. Okay,
we get a thumbs up from John.
Yep. Yeah, Aussies, man. My now wife and I did a 5 weeks in Europe right after getting our grad school degree, and we traveled with a bunch of Aussies and Kiwis. Very fun. Do not even assume for a second you can outdrink them, because oh my god.
Yep.
But Max Duffy here, and he's a great dude. Cody, you're a great dude too. Thank you very much for the $5 super, and we appreciate you. And that's good to hear. Pulling for him, right? That'd be fun. We got higher learnings coming in here too. Go ahead, Carl. Take away. I need to drink my my discreet beverage.
There you go. All right. He asks puts out the point here. I think Draymond Jones going to do great with Vaughn and Purcell back and healthy. A lot more one-on-ones, and I think being in an NFL weight room has done him great the past couple of years. Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, this Broncos defense, they made chicken salad out of you-know-what. Just the talent that was hurt last year with Von Miller out, cornerback room down to like number 7 on the depth chart, if not worse. Defensive line decimated with Purcell out there, Jarrell Casey gone. Bradley Chubb obviously hurt there at the end of the year at times. You can look at all of those and say, if these guys can stay healthy, this defense is just going to be so dominant this year. I mean, and like I said, just getting those one-on-one opportunities. Who are you going to block on that defensive line? If you got 4 rushers coming at you and they are Vaughn, Chubb, Draymond Jones, Shelby Harris, who do you pick to say you get one-on-one? Because I'm not wanting any of those guys to be one-on-one if I'm the opposing team. And because they've all shown, I mean, Shelby Harris, talk about a guy that took a giant leap last year. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people loved him 2 years ago because of all those knockdown passes. And of course he had the big interception against the Steelers that helped them win that game, and great plays. Don't get me wrong, but you and I talked about it a lot. He wasn't always great against the run, and he knocked down a lot of passes because he wasn't always winning with his pass rush moves. Mm-hmm. Well, this last year we saw him getting in the backfield like crazy. We saw him showing up a little bit more in the run game, and he's still knocking down passes. So he really became more of an all-around player this last year. And so all this being back, Vaughn being back, yeah, Draymond Jones could be that player that everybody in the league is going, where did this guy come from?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good call. Draymond Jones also entering his 3rd year in the NFL. Last year, it looked like he was about to take off until he got injured, and that kind of derailed him a little bit. And sometimes that's just kind of how it works in the NFL, right? Injury can ding you and lose a season quickly. But hopefully he'll be that guy this year. And I'm excited to see what he can do. And I think it's going to be very important for him to take advantage of his opportunities, because he's going to get a lot of one-on-ones this year, and he needs to be able to win those one-on-ones. Right. And I'm sure you listened to Vic Fangio's press conference today where he talked about like, okay, well, why last year did you do what you did? And he was talking about this year being able to blitz more if he wants to, because of the depth in the secondary, which is great, because Alexander Johnson, you don't really want him, except in the red zone you can, kind of, because he's big and long. But you don't really want him isolated in space in the passing downs. Instead, you want to be able to blitz him. That's great. But still, I think in his heart of hearts, Vic Fangio does not want to be a blitz-centric play caller or defensive caller. He wants his 4 guys up front to win and to be able to drop guys into space. So I think that's what you're going to see a lot of this year. And you make a good point. If you can get home with 4, you can do things in the NFL because you have way more options, not only numbers-wise in the back, but just like the different types of coverages you can call. And coverage schemes are complicated. Oh my God. You need like a PhD in football knowledge to understand the coverage schemes these days. But like they're even, a lot of them I feel like are beyond me. I'm like, oh, what are they going on here? Oh my God. So that's, it will be really good to see this year. I'm excited to see what happens with Draymond Jones. I hope he gets like Noah Fant. I don't know if you've seen videos of Noah Fant this year. Noah Fant, oh my God, he looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger out there. He's been hitting the weights, broadening up. I'm hoping Draymond Jones can do the same, or is looking the same, because he's always been a little bit more slender. Wearing 85 at Ohio State didn't help him in that regard. But hopefully he can fill out a little bit, so he can be more of a 3-down lineman rather than a package guy. So speaking of 3 down, Andrew Morrow coming in here, whatever that means, with a $5 on YouTube, saying, "Great work, gentlemen." Thank you, Andrew. Thank you. Need more BTB shows each week. Well, we'll see what happens. I know Carl is going to have to take a brief hiatus coming up here at some point, but we got a ways to go this season. We'll figure out what happens when that comes. Is it still considered realistic that Rodgers could wear orange this fall? I still maintain hope. I think it is still realistic. I think that what I've done personally I put my fandom in a box a while ago, but in my fandom box, there's another box, a box in a box, if you will, where I put my Aaron Rodgers hope. I'm accepted the reality where it's Teddy Bridgewater or Drew Lock. That's fine. It's much better than Paxton Lynch versus Trevor Siemian versus Mark Sanchez. God bless. I'll take that. So is it possible, though, that Aaron Rodgers could wear orange? You bet. I think it was Albright, or maybe you even mentioned it. Go ahead. I think you actually brought it up the other day.
Yeah. Well, Albright has said, I think he said it on a Brown show, that it's 60-40 that Aaron Rodgers ends up a Bronco. So 60% chance that he is a Denver Bronco. That's maybe a little higher than most other people are saying right now. Mm-hmm. But him not showing up to mandatory minicamp, their team seems to be very much focused on getting Love ready for the season, where they're not really giving any other quarterback snaps in practice. Mm-hmm. The way that they have the media out there talking about Love of, oh my gosh, he's having such a great OTAs and minicamp and everything else. And yes, it does happen sometimes where they try to control the narrative a little bit of what's being said. I'm not trying to say media are told like you have to say this or anything like that. I'm just saying like teams like to control as much as they can. And that's just the reality of things.
If teams had their way, they wouldn't allow media access.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, you kind of saw it today with Tua Tagovailoa, where he threw 5 interceptions, and a lot of people were like, "Well, this is why the media isn't allowed. You guys are like blowing this up, blah blah blah." It's like, well, so there's a little bit of
reporting what happens. Yeah. But yeah, there's still that chance. I mean, Rodgers, we've talked about it on the show many times. He's one of those guys that he's not going to give an inch. He's going to hold his ground, and if it happens, it just happens. We got a 0%. Broncos aren't stupid enough to pay his price plus what the Packers get that could help them now. Nothing. Well, I mean, they're sitting there saying the Packers would have to reach a point where they'd say that he's going to retire or we have to trade him. So would they rather get nothing at all and still not have Rodgers and be stuck in the same situation, or would they rather at least get a couple first-round picks and maybe a couple players that they could build around and hope that they could turn into something? That's the point. I mean, that's where both teams or the team and Rodgers are drawing a line in the sand. Rodgers is saying, hey, I'll retire if you make me come play again. And the team's saying, you know what? We're going to keep holding out, and we're just going to make you have to make a decision eventually. We'll take the chance that you're going to jump off that cliff or that you're not going to jump off that cliff at the end of this. And I don't know. Rodgers is just one of those people. I'm not really willing to play chicken against Rodgers. I think I'm going to blink first. And so right now, I think the timetable would be training camp, right at the beginning of training camp. And if he says, hey, I'm still not coming, then they're going to have to make some decisions. They're going to have to really decide, is this worth us dragging this out and having every single day at the media conferences they're going, where's Rodgers? What's going on with Rodgers? You know, when teammates get asked that question 1,000 times, it begins to tear apart the building. And so, again, that's when I think you're going to really see things kind of amp up.
Yeah, and as Moran says, only 85 more days of speculating about Rodgers. So, God bless. Let's have a good time. Yeah. I guess the one thing I want to push back, and thank you very much for the comment. Where was it? Karen, thank you very much for joining us today over on YouTube, Karen. We appreciate it. But the one thing I want to say here is that what would they get back? Nothing. If the Packers are moving on from Aaron Rodgers in general, they absolutely have to do what they can to make Jordan Love successful. And the best way to do that would be to surround him with young talent. And multiple first-round picks is probably the easiest way to get good talent around there, especially if Green Bay loses Aaron Rodgers. I can't see many players looking to go to Green Bay. It's cold. It's a small market. Imagine like, oh, we're going to go, young guy with money, single guy with money. Oh, let's go clubbing in Green Bay. Or I'm sorry. Like if you live in Green Bay too, God bless you. But that's not a place where many young single people with money probably are looking to live up their life. Yeah. Just is what it is. Especially if you're not catching the ball from a Hall of Fame quarterback. So the best way to do that is to draft young talented players. And the best way to move on from Rodgers and not have your current guy fired is to make sure Jordan Love hits first round picks. Give me the picks. Give me the young players. I need that. Otherwise, it's cold. need to have that. We'll see what happens here. We got Cody Potter coming back in here. Cody, another $5 super over on YouTube. Thank you so much, Cody. I feel like I've seen it somewhere. Yeah. Can you see this team making a Super Bowl run? This team kind of reminds me of the 2007 Giants. I remember the fans hated Eli the most. Hate Locke. I think Eli got hate because he was very the game's changed, first of all. Like Eli's touchdown interception in today's football wouldn't fly. It didn't even fly his last few years. If you remember him getting benched and whatnot, the game's changed to a point where you cannot live with the turnovers the way he played. Yep. But that 2007 Giants team is a good anecdote for if you get into the playoffs, anything can happen. Same with the 2012 Ravens, right? If you get hot at the right time, you're not injured in a single elimination tournament, you can play a game 10 times. But if that one of that 10 times is the game that's, the real one, that's how it plays out, right? Like that's like the Broncos in, I don't even want to say that 2012 game against the Ravens, the Super Bowl in 2013. Like the Broncos were not, what was it? 55-13. I blacked that game out. I'll be completely honest with you. I just turned 21, so I blacked that game out. But that's the Broncos play that game 10 times against the Seahawks. Maybe they don't win, a majority of them. Maybe they win 4 out of 10. They definitely don't get blown out a majority of those games. But one game, anything can happen. So possible, Cody. Yeah. Very possible with a good defense. If they can stay healthy, ball bounces the right way. Whoever the quarterback is has that like playing unconscious, like we saw with Joe Flacco in 2012, which doesn't even make sense. It could happen. We got Karen coming back in. Most don't hate Locke, Cody. Many actually like him, but just want him to play better than last year and realize that what last year wasn't. Thank you very much, Karen. I just wish we could all agree. Like, don't spin it. We don't need to make excuse after excuse. Drew Lock was bad last year. That doesn't mean he's going to be bad for his career, but he just has to play better. And he'd be the first person to tell you that. But that doesn't have to define his entire career either, right? Like that. What happens going forward is what matters. Yeah. Broncos 17-0 coming in. Carl, go ahead. Take it away.
Yeah. So we got a question about the offensive line. I love these questions.
Yes.
How do you feel about the O-line? Is it really going to be better, or do we have enough depth, and can Shermer actually adapt? So let's take this part by part. Offensive line, I feel pretty good about it. I really do. I mean, of course, you got Garrett Bowles on one side. He played great last year. I expect him to play great again this year. He's really, really turned his game around, and he's shown signs of it throughout his career to reach this kind of point. We talked about Dalton Reisner earlier. I think he can really have a turnaround season, like you said, and be a solid player. Center, at least we got a competition going on. Can't get much worse than what they showed last year. Right guard, Glasgow was injured last year. He's finally healthy again. I'm excited to see what he can bring because, I thought he was a very solid signing last year, but that injury just really hampered him more than I think people realize. And then right tackle, at least the Broncos have a couple solid players that have played right tackle for quite a few games and can go out there and compete. They at least have, I think it's 4 guys competing for that spot, which means whoever gets it, then you got 3 other guys that are competing for that swing tackle spot. And on the interior, of course, you got Moody, you got the belly of the beast that's going to be there as well. So you got some depth this year that you didn't have last year. So I feel much better about this offensive line than I have probably for the last, probably since 2014, maybe 2013.
Last year's line in 2014. Maybe it was like the year before when Brian Clady got hurt, like going into that year when he was killer and amazing. And man, that sucks. Nothing's guaranteed, folks. But that's an unfortunate one. Clady was on a Hall of Fame path.
Yep.
How do you feel about the O-line, though? Thank you, Broncos 17-0, for the very generous $20 super over on YouTube as well. We appreciate you. He actually also was super chatted this morning as well. So you're talking about somebody working day and night. Broncos 17, keeping the lights on. Saying, so for the offensive line, I feel solid about the offensive line. And I feel like maybe I'm not, typically I'm always like, oh my gosh, everybody's freaking about the offensive line. It's probably going to be better than it is. But now I'm still kind of like, I think this offensive line is going to be average, which average is fine. But are they going to be better than average? I am, and a lot of teams are in the same boat as the Broncos, but I am very scared of if Garrett Bowles goes down for any sort of time, I think the whole thing crumbles because I do not trust the tackle depth. Calvin Anderson last year had a good game, but he's not even guaranteed to make the roster this year, right? At left tackle when Garrett Bowles didn't play in that Panthers game. And that Panthers pass rush, not great. So it is what it is. I really like the depth of the interior offensive line, not just now, but going forward as well. They have 5 guys, and that makes me excited. But man, you really need Garrett Bowles to stay healthy because if he goes down, I don't know what they're going to do. And isn't that crazy to say how quickly things can change in a year? Hopefully we're sitting here a year from now talking about Drew Lock being, a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback, but we'll see. But I feel good about the offensive line. I think tackle is a position though that this team not only is scary on depth, but it's a long-term need as well, right? Even though Garrett Bowles is great, it's probably, if you're putting quarterback in a box, which is fine, edge rusher or tackle are probably the most likely positions the Broncos take in the first round in 2022.
Right. I love this comment here from our pal. No clubbing in Green Bay, just cow tipping.
Beer drinking. God bless. I don't know if you've ever seen the maps of like the counties with the drinking over average, and like Wisconsin's red, like just every single county. A lot of ice fishing though. That's a good time. A lot of good fishing in Wisconsin. I had a bachelor party in Wisconsin. It was a fun time. Slide and Glide coming in here with a $2 super over on YouTube. Double dipping today, Slide and Glide. I see ya. Sliding in and gliding into the super chats. If none of our QBs pan out, we still have Hinton. And I want to take a second here. I know this is tongue in cheek, but Hinton apparently was making some noise today, making some good catches, and God bless. I'm really pulling for the kid. I don't know if this team is very deep at wide receiver, but apparently he's really well liked. Works really hard, and if anybody deserves a chance to make a team and make some money and become a vested veteran after what happened last year, Kendall Hinton. Also, I love the name Kendall. I don't know why. I couldn't tell you, but it really just rolls off the tongue. So I'm really pulling for Kendall Hinton. Maybe it's long odds, but a great story. And it would be awesome if he could make the team and be a contributor because, God, what he did last year, not a fair situation. And great story, but man, rough.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's great to hear that he's been playing well. But like I said, that's a deep room. Good luck to him trying to make a position or make the roster. Probably gonna have to make it on special teams if he makes it on anything.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have a guy that can play defense, offense, quarterback. I mean, pretty much any position you need to this guy to go out there and do. He probably has tried it at least once. But unfortunately, sometimes you can be the jack of all trades, good at everything and not great at anything. All right, Slide Guy, another question here. When does Jamar Johnson start getting game reps at strong safety? We'll just say safety because
there's field side, like there is some nomenclature to it, but it's not. It's like this dichotomous cover 3, cover 1, where you have a true single high guy and a box safety kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, if Kareem Jackson starts to dip, because what is he this year? 33, 32, something,
I think 32.
Something like that. 32, which is getting up there for a non-offensive line quarterback position. Then you could see Jamar Johnson go in there. But hopefully you won't see Jamar Johnson this year because that means that something probably went wrong above him on the roster. But he's been making some noise. And answering this, actually, Chase Wellner, your dark horse for our rookie class, for me, it'd probably be Jamar Johnson. I'm really curious. It's kind of it'll be a fun, small micro battle going on. But long-term, Caden Stearns, Jamar Johnson, one spot across from Justin Simmons. Go get it. Who is it? I don't know. I don't care. Hopefully it's one of them. But go Young Bucks, go.
I'll go Baron Browning here, just because the Broncos don't have a linebacker like him. So I think there's some chances that he could find his way on the field, especially in some third down situations, and could really go out there and make some plays that other guys can't. I mean, he's got to get better at just the off-ball linebacker position because, unfortunately, Ohio State didn't do him a whole lot of favors by moving him around to all these different positions and him having to learn. I mean, just think about that idea of having to learn like 3 or 4 positions on a team.
Yeah.
It's hard enough to learn one. And then you go tell a guy, hey, we're going to ask you to rush the passer. We're going to ask you to rush on the inside. We're going to ask you to drop back in coverage. We're going to have you do some slot coverage as well. That's asking a lot from a player. And unfortunately, it does stunt their growth. So that's my only thing with him is I think he's got a little bit further to go than some of the other rookies. But like I said, just because of that athleticism, I could see him making his way on the field.
And Vic did hint today that this injury that he's playing right now might stunt his ability to play multiple positions. They might have to just focus on one.
Yep.
So worth calling out here. And we got this one already, John. With Jamar Johnson. We got Samaki Hill coming in here over on YouTube with a $5 super. Thank you very much. What did I miss? Just got in here. Some hype and hope for Drew Lock. I haven't even talked about Teddy today, who was not bad. Apparently it was just steady Teddy. If Drew Lock bombs, then you have a 24th to 18th quarterback in the NFL, which there is worse. But other than that, something we haven't talked about, I think we kind of hinted, but man, Noah Fant looks jacked. I saw somebody saying Nick's going to be wearing a number 3 jersey as soon as the season gets going. I don't typically wear jerseys in general, but especially of current players. But if I was, it's got to be, I put the fan hat off for the Broncos in general. The Iowa fan hat is strong. It's probably tattooed on there. Not like Hawkeyes on my belly, like that gif I like to post. But if I had to wear a jersey, it would be Noah Fant, and he is looking thick in a good way, man. He was only drafted 20 years old, and third year for the tight end is typically when you really see them, start to fill out and whatnot. But man, Noah Fant looks like a freak. I was like, oh my God, they're wearing shells. Are you serious? He is yoked.
Well, which Iowa player is going to have the greatest season for the Broncos this year. That is Mr. Josie Jewell. That's the guy who's jersey
anymore.
Yeah. But that's great news for the Broncos to know that he's really coming. I mean, each year he's shown a little bit more progression as a tight end. And I'm hoping this year that they can really get him a lot more involved. That he could become a centerpiece of this offensive system. And hopefully he can stay healthy. I know that's been another concern of his, that he's just kind of always seems like he has a little bit of an ankle injury. And I always worry about those kind of guys. Same with KJ Hamler with hamstrings. When they are finely tuned athletes like that, man, it doesn't take much to throw off that system. All right, Clifton Harris coming in here with a name that we haven't talked about yet. Kerry Vincent Jr. will come in handy versus the Chiefs specifically. Chess piece at slot cornerback if Callahan goes down.
Do you think Kerry Vincent Jr. even makes the 53-man roster, or what is it now, 57, whatever it is, out of the gate? Because the Broncos' depth at cornerback is crazy, right? Like if you're talking about if Callahan goes down, Callahan might need to be not on the roster for Kerry Vincent Jr. to make the team, right? Like, is that crazy to say? I'm like just going through the numbers. You think they're going to keep 7 guys? Like, I like Kerry, don't get me wrong, but I think it's like as a sliding guide says, but I think it's more likely to see him like be a practice squad guy this year than anything.
Yeah, I think they're probably going to try to sneak him on there, give him a redshirt season, get him to go from he's a great athlete, obviously.
Yeah.
But there's times where you could see that he wasn't always a great cornerback. I mean, there's a reason that kind of athleticism fell in the draft. So he's got a little ways to go. But you're right. He could
surrounding him as well.
Right. But you could see him maybe next year be the guy that's going to be that slot cornerback for the Broncos moving forward, that you really like, that he has that kind of athleticism that can keep up with a Tyreek Hill. And I worry a little bit about his size going against Tyreek Hill, because Tyreek Hill, yes, he's small, but he plays a lot bigger than his size. I think that's one of the more underrated parts of his game.
Yeah.
He makes some catches in traffic. He's not just a speed guy going deep. And so you worry a little bit about that. Kerry Vincent, fastest guy on the roster. I don't know. KJ Hamler might have something to say about that.
It's close.
Yeah. It's kind of fun to see the Broncos adding some athleticism that they haven't had in the past. Like a Baron Browning. I mean, we talked about it during the draft of how many of their RAS scores were just off the charts. And I worry a little bit about that because they didn't have the combine of how much you can trust some of those testing scores. But at the same time, I mean, you could see it on film. A lot of these guys were incredible athletes as well.
Yep, and a good call, Jeremy. Whatever cornerback makes the squad will definitely have to earn it. So we'll see. I mean, right now, Jamudi is the 5th, and he's been looking pretty good this year. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know. It's a good problem to have, right? Too much talent. Oh, no. And Samaki Hill coming in here asking, did Drew have a good day at OTAs? His first day of mandatory minicamp. I don't know if it's OTAs. I mean, he was solid in the 7-on-7s, and then got on a heater in the 11-on-11s and threw 3 touchdowns, some bullets in there. A lot of it on his first read, but if you're making the right throw, the right read, and an accurate pass on the first read, then good, right? Like it'd be great if everything in your first read was a great play design and went exactly what it was supposed to, right? Like that's good play design, good execution. Yep. So he did have a good day today. It's not like, hey, we don't need to make too much of it because, as Carl said earlier, Drew Lock's been this so far in his career. You need to keep. I mean, even if he goes back down to like average, just says okay tomorrow, that's fine. You just need not the game where it's like, oh, he threw 4 interceptions today, or was like bouncing in the turf. Right. So let's see him replicate it, or even play okay. Like people are like, oh, he has to play like the Carolina Panthers game for the rest of the year for him to be the guy. No, because if he did that, he'd be not only the MVP quarterback, he'd be breaking every record. So let's have some perspective there. But he did well today. That's great. We're pulling for him. Pulling for Teddy too. We need one of these guys to show up. I'm so tired of bad quarterbacks. I need somebody to play average, and then we can move from there.
Right, because that would be what? Well, I guess it's 17 games, so it'd be 68 touchdowns if he threw 4 touchdowns a game.
Just needs one more. 69 touchdowns would be incredible. Yeah, then he could dance forever. I don't even care.
Just have that one great season. That's it. Hall of Fame right there. But no, you're right. If he can really, with this roster, we've been saying this. It's not like he has to take a leap to the top 5 for the Broncos to be a good team this year.
No.
If he could be an average quarterback, because this is going to have a strong run game, you got weapons that he can use, that he doesn't have to go out there and just like be perfect. I mean, that's one thing of why we like Aaron Rodgers so much. He doesn't have a whole lot of great weapons. He's got one amazing weapon, and then a bunch of other no-name wide receivers that might not make a whole lot of other rosters. And yet he goes out there and just drops dimes. Mm-hmm. Drew Lock doesn't have to do that with this roster. There are some great players. Just control the game. If he can do that, play consistently, be closer to about that middle of the pack quarterback, I feel pretty good about where the Broncos are at then.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and tough day in Broncos country when you are praying for average quarterback. I mean, look around the room, Jesse. It's unfortunately how far we've fallen, and it's also even harder given the bar that is the AFC West quarterbacks, right? 3 top 12 quarterbacks in the division in Carr, Herbert, probably top 12, definitely top half of the league. Carr, Herbert, and Mahomes is probably number 1. But is what it is. So if we can, also, it speaks to how good this Broncos roster is outside of the quarterback position, right? Like if you get average, this team can make some noise. Maybe not a Super Bowl, but gosh, like this, what is it, 5 years since they made the playoffs? 6 years, second longest streak in the NFL now in the AFC behind the Jets. I'll take average. And we got Michaela Parker coming in here saying silly to judge until preseason. Well, I agree with you, but also the realist in me agrees with you. But the person in here talking and enjoying, having this conversation with you guys and needing stuff to talk about wants to disagree because we need to be able to judge something, right? Like that's talking about the offseason, mountains out of molehills, but it's what we have to go on. So it's all going to play out though.
Yep. No, you're right. Like I said, it's today was a couple more pieces added to the puzzle, and we're getting the outside frame kind of going here at the early parts. And we'll start getting to the meat, to the middle of everything that's going on as we get into training camp and get some pads on, get some more 11-on drills going on. It's not just about preseason. There's going to be a lot more that goes into this decision. There's going to be a lot that goes on behind the scenes.
Yep.
How do they handle the meetings? Are they the true leaders of the locker room? Do players, gravitate towards them? All those things really do make a huge difference in this whole process. So, we'll keep you updated, of course, throughout training camp and in preseason. We'll be able to watch it, which is always great. But yeah, it's a stepping stone.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got Taylor coming in here over on YouTube saying, why is everyone sleeping on Teddy Bridgewater? He can push Lock to be better and drive our offense. I think that's a good point. Drew Lock really hasn't had to compete for a true starting gig since probably his freshman year at Missouri, right? And even then, it's like, well, you're a freshman. Like, we're not really expecting you to come in and play. And it was obvious when the Broncos brought in Flacco that he wasn't competing against Flacco. He was going to be transitioned to at some point, because Joe Flacco was in his prime, right? I hate off-season talk sometimes, man. It just drives me nuts. But are people sleeping on Teddy Bridgewater now as far as pushing Locke? I think so. I mean, Locke is going to have to go out there and earn it for arguably the first time in his career. And that's not to say Locke has not put in the work to deserve where he is right now. That's not at all what I mean. But also, he hasn't had like real competition, right? Or a real somebody where he's had to overcome beating that guy on his own team. So Bridgewater brings that. And also, Bridgewater can drive the offense. Is it going to be great? No. Can it be competent? Probably. I'm not going to say for sure because we can't predict the future, but probably.
And here's the other thing I'll say. Bridgewater is in many ways kind of the complete opposite of Drew Lock. Like every day in practice, you are going to get a guy that is who's going to be he's going to be the same pretty much every single day. And so Drew Lock to go out there and win on days, he can't expect that Teddy Bridgewater is going to have a really bad day to go out there and have an easy day to win. He's going to actually have to go out there and perform. And so I think that's great for Drew Lock. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I mean, competition, if he can't deal with competition, then he shouldn't be a starting quarterback in the NFL. That's just it. You know, there's very few guys that have earned that reputation that they don't need some kind of competition. And part of it's because they've already earned it through competition before.
Yep.
They've shown I'm the man. I'm going to put in the work. You don't have to worry about me putting in the work. And so, I think if nothing else, this is just great for Locke to have that kind of chance to go out there and prove that he's ready for this and can handle it mentally, because we've seen other players that cracked under the pressure of a quarterback competition. Paxton Lynch is a great example. He couldn't handle it. Yeah, exactly. So there's other guys out there that you get to know who they are through these kind of competitions, and I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, and George coming with a great comment saying, Locke won today, but it's better because the reason he won is because of his own merits. He played well and not because Teddy played bad. And there's Carl. Okay, you lost you for a second there. I had a black screen of the spinning wheel. Maybe it was just me. Okay, well, either way, Carl, glad to have you back. But good call, George. That's a good comment. And we got Roughing the Passer coming in here. And I like this one because it's roughing like a dog roughs. So nice name over on YouTube. Honestly, Teddy's stats in his career weren't that great, even in Minnesota. Drew loses 4 of his INTs. It probably shouldn't be that hard to Lock to win. Let them hate. So I think you're saying here that Teddy's stats weren't great, which they were not. He's taken better care of the football, and he's been actually one of my favorite quarterback stats is a completion percentage over expected. It's a next-gen stat. If you guys are curious about it, hit me up on Twitter because I don't want to waste the rest of our time going into some advanced analytic. But Teddy's been pretty good, average or better, in a completion percentage over expected. And what does that mean? It means he's getting the ball to areas where most quarterbacks are not as accurate. And that's a good thing for the Broncos because KJ Hamler, Tim Patrick, Cortland Sutton, Noah Fant, the weapons that they have, if you can be accurate and just play point guard, don't have to be a playmaker, don't have to be getting to the paint, just play point guard, good things can happen. So also I think a part of Teddy's stats not being great, like, what happened to all his touchdowns? For a lot of his career, he was handing the ball to a guy named Adrian Peterson in the red zone. And that kind of maybe, like, even if Teddy Bridgewater was going to be a good quarterback before the injury, you're talking about the year that Adrian Peterson, like, won the MVP, right? Like, that's crazy. Like, they're handing the ball to 28. So I think that's a big part of the touchdowns in the red zones and statistics as well.
Well, the year that he won MVP, that was it wasn't Teddy Bridgewater.
It was that who was the quarterback that year?
They drafted him number 8 overall or whatever in 2011. Hunter. Yes. Yeah. But I mean, it's kind of still similar. Right. Yep. I mean, it wasn't like all of a sudden Peterson fell off a cliff or anything like that. He was still good, so he was still the focal point of that offense. And and like people have said, yes, Teddy Bridgewater is not going to go light it up on the field. You're not going to go see the Broncos have a top 5 offense because Teddy Bridgewater is starting. Maybe could with Drew Lock because he can fit it into some places that you can't otherwise, and he can go out there and have some outstanding games. I mean, he can go put up 35 points in a game. Teddy Bridgewater, you're probably going to be 24 to 25 points a game. But we do want to thank all of our superstars here today, Mr. Boggins, Pobby, Slide and Glide, Hunter Wertenen, Andrew Moreau, Broncos 17-0, Samaki Hill, Chase Wellner, Michaela Parker, and Cody Potter. All of you guys, it just every week I'm overwhelmed when we do these shows of just all the support that we get, not only from our superstars, but also from just all the comments. Man, it is great reading all these comments and just seeing the conversations even going back and forth of just fans. And man, it's you guys ask great questions and you guys bring up great comments as well. It just, like I said, it's all good. And it just makes me happy to see that we have a fan base that understands a lot about football. And hopefully we've maybe been a little bit a part of that. But really, we do appreciate everything that you guys do for us and just how you make these Tuesdays really the fastest hour of my week.
Yeah, no, thank you guys so much for joining us today, and I always appreciate the kind comments. Greg Smith joining us for the morning and night shows. We appreciate you, Greg. Karen with another nice comment here. This is a great show, guys. Very real talk and honesty, and always appreciate it, even if sometimes I don't agree. And that's great. You know, if you can come away and be like, you guys were not just blowing smoke or not telling people what they wanted to hear, and giving good insight, even if you don't agree, that's all I could ask for. So thank you very much, Karen. That actually really does mean a lot. So we appreciate you guys. That's going to do it for us today. You can follow us both on Twitter, Carl, of course, Carl Dumler, at Carl Dumler MHH, and myself, Nick Kendall, at Nick Kendall MHH. Also, guys, please make sure you go follow our producer, good friend of the show as well, John K. MHH, Bawana Beast. You guys know him. You guys love him. If also, while you're on Twitter, make sure you follow us at BTB Football Pod and at Mile High Huddle. Once again, shout out to everybody who donated today on YouTube, Facebook, et cetera, et cetera. If you're joining us, though, and you are not in a position to donate or don't feel like it, you know, I'm not going to give them money. These guys are clowns. No, hopefully you don't think that. But if you guys don't feel like that, it's something you can do. It's totally free. Please subscribe, like, and share if you're joining us on YouTube or if you're joining us on Facebook. Please click the thumbs up, heart react, care react. I'm care react from Carolina Lens. I see you, Carolina. I love the care react. I'm appreciating it. I care about it. And also, guys, make sure you check us out. Join us on Facebook as well. Become a fan. Join us on the content there. We appreciate everybody there. Thank you, guys. Love the show. Love you guys. Hope you all stay safe. Andrew Beck saying, love you all. Go, Nick and Carl. Great pod. Also, go, John. I'm going to toss that one in there. It's an addendum. So we appreciate you guys. And Mo Ron saying, this show blows the doors off of the show that's normally at this time slot. Well, Mo, different strokes for different folks, right? That's the most important thing here. If you're looking for different content, if you didn't think that we were the best, check out a different show, right? That's great. I'm not here to disparage anybody because different people have different perspectives. That's what makes this great. I'd never want to be in an echo chamber where we're all saying the goddamn same thing. That's boring. And I'm sorry, I took the Lord's name in vain, Carl. Don't get too mad at me. But anyway, we got to get out of here, guys. We love y'all. Stay safe and more football tomorrow. Go Broncos.
You've been listening to Building the Broncos. Join Broncos Country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com to keep the conversation going.